Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Stately Office Hours. This is where us, the team at Stately, talk all things Stately Studio and XState. We have got some exciting demos for you today, and we'll also answer any of the questions that you might have about using the Stately Studio and XState, about our roadmap, or anything else that comes to your mind. Let's start off as we do every week with introductions. Let's go top round because I'm not number one this week. Number one this week is the mysterious AI of Stately. That's actually Gavin.
Gavin in the costume.
I do not know who Gavin is. I am Stately Bot. Hello. Welcome to the stream.
And are you a very good bot?
Depends on the day.
Great.
That's a
Already
Bing
better
reference.
than Bing.
And Gavin, what do you do at Stately?
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm one of the back-end engineers here at Stately. Been having a lot of fun these last couple weeks, actually.
Oh, we've got some exciting things to show you about what Gavin's been working on. David, how about you?
Hey, I am the founder of Stately, creator of XState, and tinkerer of XState v5.
And Fazad, a very nice Stately t-shirt you've got on there today.
Thank you for noticing. Actually, David is lying. I'm the founder of Stately and XState.
Only on Fridays.
Ask Gavin, he'll confirm. Yeah, I'm Farzad. I'm just the engineer guy.
Okay, coming around to me, I'm Laura, and I do advocacy for Stately. Nick, how about you?
And I'm Nick, and I do design for Stately.
And last but not least, Kevin.
I'm Kevin, hi, and doing engineer at Stately.
Right. Fabulous team. It's great to have 6 of us here today. I love it. Makes it all fit really nicely into the screen. So I think let's get straight into it. This is something that we've been really excited to share with you. I got a really cool preview earlier in the week, so I'm really eager to share it with the rest of you. Kevin, shall we tell them about versions?
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. I'm really excited to talk about versions. Just for some background, I mean, I'm sure that we all create versions of our machines today. The question is, how do we do it? We fork our machines, we give them creative names, we label them V1, V2, or whatever. We try to sort through them. But there's a better way, and it's on the horizon. It's about to be released. So first of all, I'm very excited about that, as I said, but also it's something that community members, such as yourselves, have been requesting over time. And in the last couple of months, I've been working really closely with Gavin. And, he and I have been jamming on all kinds of stuff, database design, Prisma, TRPC, TypeScript, React, etc. And we've been building out this great UI that Nick has designed for us. And we've also just been hammering out all these details of a user experience that we would want to use ourselves. So let's take a little preview of what it's like to work with machine versions and with your version history. And I think we'd like to do this. Let me share my screen here. I almost forgot. Let's see. Can you all see the screen?
Yep.
Yeah,
Sure
could you
can.
make it a little wider or a little shorter and a little bit zoomed in maybe?
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I am zoomed in, but I can try to do it a little bit more. Is that?
That works. Yeah.
No, that looks great.
Okay. All right. Let's try that. And so what I thought we could do is build a state chart, which is kind of one of the things I love to do. And we can even build a state chart which is about restoring a version of a machine. But I'm not going to start from scratch. I'm going to go into some of my favorite templates here. I've got things for restoring and forking and whatever. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and I'm going to fork it into a project right here. So I have a good place to start. Okay, cool. So now that I've done that, let's see. What I want to do is, first of all, I want to start to rename some stuff, right? Let's make this a little bit more specific to what we're doing. So let's say restore a machine. Maybe we call this restore version. And And let's see, restoring version. Just some light changes here, and maybe we don't need this nice graphic here for our purposes. So I've made some changes. Now, one thing I want to point out, you may already know this, of course, is that whenever you make changes to a machine, we automatically save those changes. You see on the corner here, it says saving and saved. So we're always updating, let's say, call it the head of your machine, right, if you can Git terms. And we do that automatically. But we don't have any way of actually creating versions yet. So now that I've done that, if you look over here on the panel, there's a new icon, and it says version history. So if I click on version history, I open up a panel, and I see that I have a save button, and I can actually click that save button to save a version. So I'm going to do that. All right, so there you go, version saved. Now, what is a version? A version is basically a snapshot of this machine's definition at this time, in this moment in time. And it tells me, I did it a few seconds ago. But of course, I can also give this like a better name. So let's say this is when I rename stuff. Now we have a new name that I can remember. And let's say that we want to keep on building out our little feature here. So restoring versions perhaps is something that's going to communicate with the server. So maybe I say we have an invoke, which is, let's say, restore version. And, sorry, what happened there? I don't know how I must have clicked the mouse here. Sorry. And then we don't need this one. So maybe we want to, let's see, drag done, and then on error. Okay, so we have this. And so now we've created like our little async state, and we can save another version. And we can also name that, let's say, async invoke. All right, so we have a few versions. And then let's say I want to just take this one step further, and maybe whenever these, the restoring is done, let's say I want to show a toast. So maybe I'm going to add an action, which is like show success toast. And then here, do a show toast. All right, so now I have some actions. I'm very zoomed in. I'm going to zoom out just one bit here. And I can save again. And so now we have, let's say, toast actions. Sorry, I can't type right now. Okay, toast actions. So now we have a bunch of versions here. So I can go back and I can view these versions. So if I actually, I can even close this for a second. Or let me minimize this. So if I want to go back, I can see that this is when I added the toast actions. This is back when I first made this async. And this is when I first renamed stuff. And you'll see that up at the top here, I'm able to either fork or restore or go back to the current version. So this is going back to the current version here. So let's suppose that I want to fork. So let's say I go to async invoke. So now I'm going to fork this because I want to, maybe spin off something from there. So I can click the fork, and you'll notice actually this is one of the new features, but you can actually name the fork as you're creating it. So let's say I want to call this async restore machine, and now I'm just going to put this into a project here. So now I've forked, okay, and put it into a different project. And another thing that you'll notice, though, is, of course, the machine looks like the version that I forked. And if I go into the version history, it also has an initial version that was auto-created. And that initial version is of the version that I forked, right? So in other words, its history starts anew. And now if I go back to the machine we were working in here. Okay, so let's say that I continue on working and I want to get like kind of more experimental. And I'm like, what if I could, undo this restoring of a version, for example. So I'm like, if I do that, then once this is done, I actually can go to a time where I can undo. And then I just take it like a little bit further and I say that this is, an undo. And then maybe this is undoing. I'm sorry. Et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but then I think to myself, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to launch that, or I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get that done. So maybe what I want to do is just save that as a version. Let's say, call this with undo. But then I'm not sure if I really want to pursue that right now. So of course, as you saw, I could fork. In fact, I could even fork from right here. But I'm not going to do that because you saw that. But what I can do is I can say, I'm going to restore this machine back to this version. Okay. So what does restoring a machine do? Restoring takes the definition of the version that you want to restore to, and it uses that definition to replace the machine definition at its head. It doesn't actually save an explicit version, but it does replace the machine, same as auto-saving would do if you made those changes manually. So if I hit restore, okay, so we've got all this, we had all this here, just to look again. We have all this other experimental stuff over here, okay? And then now I'm going back to, let's say this one, and I'm hitting restore. So now I've replaced the head of the machine. It's, it's auto-saved, and there we have it. So if I look in history, then I can continue, I can continue to make changes here. And if I go to with undo, then I see that in the history. If I go back, that's the one that I actually restored. But if I just go back to current version, it's also without that undo stuff. And so basically, we've just restored an older version. Now, there are a few other things that we can do here, because now you see that, let's say the toast actions is the version we restored to, so we don't necessarily need that. So I could also just delete that. If I wanted to, I could maybe restore, back to this renamed version, or, let's say this renamed state. But then I'm like, I don't want to do that. I can just undo that. So you can actually undo your restoring as well, which is funny because that's the feature we just, made in the state chart. We can navigate through this history, and we can, continue to view, restore, fork, delete versions. You can rename them, whatever you want. And there you have it. I mean, that's working with your version history. So, on a personal note, I want to say that as I was working on this feature, I really wished I had this feature to work on this feature. Because, even though this is a very simple version of a restoring state chart, the one that drives the feature is much more complicated. And it went through so many different iterations, and it would have been really convenient to be able to save those versions along the way as I iterate through, through that development. But it's coming soon, and you're going to be able to use it as well. So in short, I would say that version history is something that allows you to work incrementally and with a lot more confidence, and also greater convenience. You can quickly save versions as you work at any time, and who knows, we might even throw in a keyboard shortcut to save quickly. But it also allows you to actively manage your versions by labeling them and giving them some meaning, maybe even semantic meaning. And we know that there are many ways to model software. So this is something that's going to allow you, I think, to experiment more. And experimenting will give you the opportunity to spin your work off in different directions and to be really creative. So lastly, I would say that, of course, we're going to really welcome your feedback once we release this. There's so many ways that we can make this feature even better, but we'd love to start out by just hearing how machine versions work for you. Yeah, so that's it.
Yay. Oh, it's so exciting. It's so cool. And Gavin, you've been working on this with Kevin as well, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. Kevin and I have been in the trenches. A little bit of kicking ideas back and forth. A lot of database migrations to make sure that everything works the way it should. It's been a lot of fun. One of my favorite things about it is that we anticipate mistakes being made, which is how I live my life personally. So it's very good to see this implemented into the core product. Like, for instance, when you do go to restore a machine, a previous version of one, back to the head of what you're working on now, we even show a toast notification. This is Kevin's stroke of genius. We have a toast notification that even allows you to undo that, just in case you may have accidentally restored. So I love having the options and the ability to just develop application logic safely and responsibly.
Yeah,
totally.
Tyler asked, would love to see the version diff in the CI context. So that is going to be one of the next things that we're working on. And it's not going to be a diff in the normal like text-based diff way, but we're going to be exploring ideas. And this is for other features that we're making too. But the idea of seeing what has changed between two machines visually. So it'll come eventually. We still have to figure out what that's going to look like. But with versions, it becomes possible to do that.
Yeah, stop taking our ideas, Tyler.
A couple of questions for you, Kevin. One question. So every time you were saving a new version of the machine, you were just making some little changes before you were saving a machine. And that's because you can't just continually save a whole bunch of new versions without making any changes.
That's
Is that
right.
right?
Yeah. So if I go here, so like, whatever this, I don't remember if I restored last or whatever. So now you can't save, right? So, and that's probably helpful. But if you, even so much as move something or you rename something, then you can save. And yeah, so you can save easily, like I said, and quickly as you're working, but in a meaningful way, I guess. You have to actually make an edit of some sort. And then again, it's easy to just delete things, or you can, undo the delete if you don't want that.
Awesome.
And this is a special feature, especially for our pro users, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. This is a pro feature to start. Having said that, we are actively talking about ways in which we can help workflows for community subscribers as well, just by the mere fact that our Stately Studio does support versions. So we'll work that out, and we'll let you know.
Fabulous. I can't wait to use this. This is one of the features that Kevin and I have been crying out for when we've been doing our editor hour every week. We keep forking our machines and renaming them, just essentially doing a lazy version of versions. And so now we actually have it built in. It's going to be so good to use.
One additional thing while I have the screen sharing is, speaking of forking, we've also made a slight change to forking, where we actually, if you look here, we have two different options. One is a duplicate in project, which is a simple one click to duplicate the machine. And then the other one, as you have already been familiar with, is the fork to project. So now you can fork to a different project. So that's just a slight enhancement there.
Yeah, that's fabulous. They're both buttons that I will use all the time. In fact, the other day I didn't even realize that I could duplicate a project, and you had to tell me when we were working together, because I went through, I exported the code and then I re-imported the code in order to duplicate a machine within a project, which is way more work than I needed to do. Now, next up, David, one of the many bazillion things that you've been working on recently, do you want to give us a demo of some of the work in progress for the receptionist pattern, which is coming in XState version 5?
Sure. Yeah. So we've been working on a PR, actually a bunch of V5 PRs. And one of them that I'm most excited about is the receptionist pattern. And so this might be a familiar term to some of you who have been wanting something like this, and it might be an unfamiliar term to others who are like, what is this receptionist pattern all about? Long story short, it solves a long-standing pain point with XState. So I have this locally pulled up. It's not released to a version. This is Code Sandbox, just pulling the version from this, or sorry, pulling XState from this PR. So not out yet, but I just wanted to do this for demonstration purposes. And I'm also going to bump the font size so that you could see it. Hopefully that's big enough. I can make it
Lovely.
Even. Okay, awesome. All right, so over here, I have a machine, probably the simplest machine you can make. So keep in mind, this is just fun to talk about, but the most simple machine you can make is just an empty object. If you have this, you have a machine. It doesn't do anything really useful. So let's actually make it do something. All right, let's say that I have a special actor here called a notifier, and this is from a callback. We're not doing anything with the machine over here. The role of this is to change this H1 into whatever we want it to say. So we could pass it a message, and then it could, you could say the message. So I'm going to go ahead and invoke that. And so we're going to invoke multiple things. So I'm going to have this in an array. And the source over here is going to be the notifier. Simple as that. So we have the notifier, but let's say that somewhere else in the machine, I'm just going to put it right next to here for now. We want to invoke, let's say, just another machine. So I'm going to create machine over here. And let's say on entry, just keeping this really simple, I want to send a message to the notifier. Now, any of you who have been working with XState and actors and trying to get actors to communicate with each other already know that this is going to be pretty painful. There's no really direct way for this sibling to talk to that sibling. It's like, you have to do a lot of juggling, a lot of gymnastics in order to just figure out the reference to that, maybe give it an ID of some sort, and then just try to obtain a reference to that ID. Like, there's no way to just send a message directly to the notifier in version 4. So coming up in version 5, there's something called the receptionist pattern, where just like a receptionist at a hotel, wherever receptionists work, like they will tell you, oh, this person has registered under this name, so let me give you a reference to them. So it's sort of like a telephone book or an address book. And so what we could do is, in order to register an actor with this system, and notice we're creating an implicit system, so you don't have to think about it. This happens behind the scenes. We just say, I'm going to give this a key of notifier, or whatever we want to call it. So this is a callback. The fact that these names match is purely coincidental. So in fact, I'll just call this tell me, just to show that it could be different. Okay, so how do we send an event, or how do we get access to that actor? Well, in version 5, you are going to have this system variable available, and tell me actor, terrible name, I know, is going to be system.get, and we give it the key. So this should match that, and this might or might not exist. So basically, the receptionist is supposed to tell you, like, hey, this is not available yet, it's undefined, or it actually does exist. So just as a test, we're going to say if tell me actor. So if it exists, we are going to just send it a message. So send type message, and the message is going to be hello receptionist. And so what it's going to do, the callback is going to receive that event, and it's going to change the inner HTML. Hopefully it works. And there we go. Hello receptionist. Yay. And so this is going to make it a lot easier to reference an actor from any other actor, because you could, in fact, let's do some inception over here. You could go pretty deep, like invoke source. Let's do another create machine, and I'm going to just move that entry up here. So now this is like 2 actors deep. Actually, I really hope this works. So hello plus math.random. There we go. Okay, so This is an actor that invokes another actor, and so it still knows that this tell me actor is registered with the current system, and systems are local to wherever you're interpreting. So if I interpret a completely different actor, then it's going to be a different system. So everything under here is within the same system, and it could access that tell me actor. Really easy to do. So.
Eric asks, I don't suppose there's any possible way to make this strongly typed, even throwing an anderist at the problem. Now, we don't throw anderist. That wouldn't be kind to him.
We throw Mateusz. Yes, that's
right. So Mateusz and I have been discussing how to make this strongly typed, and the way that we are playing this, it is going to be able to be strongly typed. So the way you would do that, at least tentatively, we're still trying to figure this out, is you would have some sort of like type my system equals, and pretend that there's like an actor system, and so you would pass in like your actors, and so you could say tell me, is in actor ref. Oops, yeah, actor ref, and then you would give it like the event types that it has. So the reason that we would do this, because otherwise we would have to completely re-architect how create machine is called and everything, is that ideally you could just say, and this is also coming in the future, but you could say that type system my system, and so we're basically telling we're basically saying that this machine expects to be in this kind of system. And so that way, this system is going to be strongly typed. We're going to know that tell me is going to be an actor ref of that type. And we could also have some sort of type error if we try to invoke or spawn actors that don't fit into that system. So if we have like type other system equals any, and this is other system, and these expect to be in my system, then there should be a type error. So we're still trying to figure that out, but we do have a solid plan for making that actually type safe.
So Eric says, so it can't be inferred. It's still kind of cool.
Right. It cannot be inferred. And it's really the only way that we can make it inferable is completely changing the API, which we don't want to do. So
fair enough. And something else that has literally only just in the minutes running up to this stream been released is Code Sandbox templates.
That's right. So going back to our GitHub repo, you're going to notice something new, and this is still a work in progress, but we're taking advantage of Code Sandbox templates to actually have a templates file, and this is going to be populated with a lot more things. Right now, you see that we have React TypeScript, vanilla TypeScript. We're going to be adding, of course, Vue, Solid, Svelte, vanilla JavaScript, and TypeScript templates, and everything else you could think of. And so the cool thing about these, and the difference between this and what already exists in XState, which is these templates over here, is that these templates are directly from GitHub, which means that we could make sure that they stay up to date with the current XState version. We could test them. We could just make updates in the repo. And so if I click into React.ts, you're going to see another big change where you could click here to opening Code Sandbox. First of all, it's opening up in the new Code Sandbox projects, which runs the Vite projects a little bit better. See, it's all done. Hopefully, here we go. And you're going to see that there's a new example. So instead of having a very basic toggle example where you might be thinking, why would I need a state machine for this? Now we're giving you a realistic example, and I'm sorry that the font is so small. But we're giving you a realistic example of a feedback machine, which is a typical multi-step form that you might want to use. So it's going to feature assign actions, conditional transitions, and route transitions as well, just to give you a preview of all the features that you would need to make the best use of XState. And so this form is pretty simple. We could click good, close, provide more feedback, bad. And we could also actually fill this out just to demonstrate context. Now you'll notice that submit is actually disabled over here. And that's because we do have some validation, and we're showing off another feature, which is states.can. And so we're saying we could only submit if this should be enabled when we could submit. And then it shows it over here, again, demonstrating context. So there's templates right now, again, for React TypeScript and for vanilla TypeScript as well. With vanilla TypeScript, we are just showing, we're telling you to go to the console, just like the other one, because it's not built on the framework. And the console actually has a couple of new things too. So hopefully if this works. So if you open the console over here, ignore the errors. It's not from us. It's from Code Sandbox. You're going to see state value, which is prompt. This is the same feedback form. And state, which is your entire state. And also next events. So if you want to actually test it out, you can copy an event, paste it here, and you get an error because you probably have to do it in here. But that's the basic idea. I'm actually not sure where the console log is over here, but just yeah, we'll have to figure that out. But
There's a lot
anyway,
of panels going on there.
exactly. But if you want to get started and you don't have a framework, then this would be the template to use.
Fabulous. Oh, and I've had a look at sneaky peek at the template already, and it's so straightforward that it's going to be really useful for anyone that just wants to get started as well. I think folks who like to dig straight into code is so helpful. While you've got your browser open there, David, shall we show everyone how they might be able to book a demo with us? Because that's something new that we're starting to do.
Yeah, sure. So if you go to stately.ai, you're going to notice a new button over here, Book a Demo, and our arrows also point to the right places. But now if you or your company has a really compelling use case for XState, of which there are many, many use cases, and you really want to just get started with the Stately Studio, with using XState at your company, and with using our Stately tools at your company, of which there's going to be a lot of powerful features coming up within the next few months, then we have a new Book a Demo button where it will take you to our Calendly page. And so we could talk to you about the studio, the current and upcoming features, and everything else for you to be successful with using state machines in your applications if it decides to load. The Book a Demo button is also at the bottom over here. But just imagine that this goes to a Calendly. There we go. Okay,
there
thanks, Calendly. A little bit of a weird state transition there. But yeah, so, we will give you a walkthrough through the Stately Studio, talk about your use cases, answer your questions, and we will schedule a follow-up demo for more specific use cases that you may have. So please, if you're a company who is using XState or wants to use XState and our Stately tools, then please book a demo with us. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, especially if you're someone who is, you have an idea that you want to use it for, but you're not entirely sure how to implement something. That's the kind of thing that we're here for. We want to help you be able to use our tools better. And you'll be able to speak to all sorts of members of the team. So that should be really fun. I should have asked this earlier on your behalf, Ivor. Any ETA for XState v5?
Yeah, so we have 3 PRs in progress for XState v5 Alpha, and we're going to be adding documentation to those. So I want to just let you know that XState v5 Alpha is out. It's been out for a few months already, and so we're just preparing the transition from Alpha to Beta. There's still some big things that we have to add in there, especially the TypeScript changes. But yeah, so I would recommend, if you want to play around with v5, start playing around with the Alpha. Just know that the API will change, and it is based largely on the same API and tests from v4. So think of it as a superset of v4. It's not like anything is going to fundamentally change. But yeah, so again, we're working really hard on just getting a v5 beta release.
Cedric asks, can we add a button for take a coffee? And Martin wants to book a demo just to talk to us all. Well, that's partly what this office hours are for, but you can also come to our Discord and come chat to us there. And hey, we have actually in the past had some ideas for maybe we should have some hangouts where folks from our community can just come hang out with us and chat to us. And so if you're all interested in that kind of thing, let us know, because it's definitely something we'd be up for in the future. Like a little stately hangout, little stately party. So we don't get to do it in person very often.
That sounds like a great idea.
Skella asks, I recently started looking into XState. I want to see if I can use it for a back-end use case, store state or applied transitions to entities in a database. Is that the case?
Yes, you could definitely do that. And many people have done that. I have to collect a bunch of resources for that, but we are going to be making more official resources for that too. And also we're working on some experiments, which I can't say too much about right now. That's very much in Gavin and Honor's wheelhouse on some really fun server-side XState stuff. So
Yes. So Skell, just to follow up with you there. Yes, you can. You totally can store state in a database table, whatever database schema you'd like to use, whether it's document or tabular. I can confirm I've used both. We are working on a more formalized way to build server-side workflows on the back end for explicitly these purposes. So stay tuned. They're coming soon. And we're very, very excited. It's pretty much what David said, but better.
Yeah, and the main purpose is we want you to be able to create these workflows using state machines and state charts, just because they're really great ways of representing these workflows. And I mean, you're not going to show your project manager or your designer code and be like, "Hey, here's our logic," and they're going to be like, "Okay." So, yeah,
really.
Oh,
Really
sorry,
quickly, David. So sorry. If there are like specific backend use cases that you guys would like to see supported, please mention them in the Discord. I'd love to see them, and I'd love to maybe have them on the background so I can work on examples for them.
Yes,
that's a really great point. So with Tyler also asking for back-end resources, including Python examples, and Ivor also saying we need more back-end examples. If you do have specific examples that you would like to see, if you go to our Canny roadmap at statelyai.canny.io, we have a specific examples board there. So you can post the examples that you want to see from us, maybe share a use case that you've got, and we will focus on prioritizing those examples because we want to be able to build things that are useful for you all.
Perfect.
And speaking of being able to meet and hang out with the team, we've got many events coming up, but just a few that we want to share with you. Next week is Agent Conf, and there is 3 XState related talks, and only 2 of them are from the Stately team.
that's right.
That's really exciting, isn't it, David? What are you going to be speaking about, David?
Yeah, so my talk is, I mean, it doesn't seem obviously related to state machines at first, but it's talking about the path from AI to AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. And so we're going to be talking about the current state of things in AI, but also I'm going to be taking it back to the original, how AI is implemented in fixed environments like games, which, spoiler alert, state machines. So it's going to be really fun. I'll have a little Pac-Man example of just how enemy behavior can be described as a state machine. But also, I'm going to be peering into the future and how we could use the current AI advances of today, along with how we could define our application logic using state machines, and actually use the two together to make intelligent user interfaces.
Very hot topic right now.
Yeah.
David, when you said original AI, I was just thinking in a moment about Clippy. Rest in peace.
Oh, Clippy's still alive. It's now Bing.
That's
Stronger than ever.
Yeah.
And Jenny will also be giving a talk, won't she?
She's talking about state machines for your mental state. It's a must-watch talk because what she's going to be doing is basically 2 things at once. She's going to be giving you a complete intro to all the important things you need to know about state machines and state charts, but she's also going to be talking about just mind hacks and how to improve your mental states and prevents burnout, and relating all of those to state machines, because the main theme is that burnout is an unexpected state that we sometimes transition into without knowing it. So it's going to be a really useful talk on many levels.
Great for everyone. I think in tech we do have big issue with burnout, so I think it will be a really great talk. Jenny's going to be great. So if you are Agent Conf, you can't get tickets now; they're all sold out. But if you're going to be there, please let us know. Oh, and a mention to the 3rd XState related talk. It's going to be Thomas Vogel talking about configuring a ski boot with XState and 3JS, and that sounds like so much fun. This is Agent Conf, Tyler, and the URL for that is, there we go, a nice long one, Alpine Conferences. If you search for Alpine Conferences, you'll be able to find it. It's got like skiing and snowboarding and stuff. It's all very fancy.
Super excited.
And talking about conferences in cold weather locations or events in cold weather locations, Fazad, you're also speaking next week.
Yeah, I'm speaking at a local event called Turku Frontend, which is a frontend meetup held monthly in a city called Turku in the southern part of Finland. And I'm going to talk about visual programming and executable models. And the idea is basically I want to talk about state machines without talking about state machines.
Good plan.
Everyone's hiding talking about state machines lately. Sneaking in state machines.
Yep, they're everywhere.
Well, and if anyone is local to that area, they should come join you. I think that would be fun. Fazad's always a great speaker, so you've got to.
I don't have any stickers, so just saying that up front.
Well, maybe we need to fix that and get you some stickers.
Mhm.
Randy asks, any advice on syncing state machines from a repo to Stately Studio? Been trying to scrape a repo for machine.ts files similar to Storybook, but I'm having difficulty.
Oh, I just closed my browser, but this is definitely possible. So you could now open, or I think it's been released. Yeah. So Honors isn't here to talk about it, but you can open GitHub repos in Stately Studio. And as far as syncing it, that's still a feature that's coming up. Right now, you could view them in Stately Studio. And of course, you could always view them in the extension itself. But yeah, please tell us what your needs are, and we will we will just see if it aligns with what we have planned on the roadmap.
Worth mentioning that importing from GitHub is a pro feature.
Yeah. But you can use the extension, with your machines locally. So you have that, and that's free.
Yeah, if you check out our blog, you'll be able to see a blog post that Anders recently wrote about that.
Mm-hmm. There was another question.
It was from Cal. We're fighting with the button, David.
Sorry.
Any guidance for when to split up machines? Trying to replace Redux with XState, but at the top level, I still need auth and settings state. Is one machine okay, even with different scopes?
Oh, okay. So with Redux, the general pattern is that you would have basically a giant reducer, which is combined reducers. I don't know if it's the same with Redux Toolkit. Maybe they used slices or something like that. So in XState, the way you would do that is by just invoking multiple machines. So you could do it the same way. And also with XState version 5, you are going to be able to just use reducers as normal if you want to just gradually transition your application logic into a state machine. I recommend that you read the latest blog post on Create Actor Context, which was introduced a couple weeks ago. And because it makes it really easy for you to have global shared states. And so you could definitely have a provider for authentication, for whatever else you mentioned. Authentication, settings, etc. And you could have that at the top level of your app, and anything can access that. And so the biggest difference of why would you use that instead of something like Redux is that XState will also help you manage your effects. And so especially with auth and maybe syncing settings to the database, you do need to have effects. And so instead of those living on the side, you could have those live directly in your machine, and you could visualize them too.
Great. Chaitanya asks, that's wrong.
Sorry.
Stop pressing buttons.
Okay. Hands off.
I would like to learn how XState works internally. Any advice on how to go about deconstructing it?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I would recommend not looking at the source code for V4. It is very, very complicated. And instead look at V5, which is also very, very complicated. But it is based more largely on the SCXML spec. So if you go to, let me just get the link real quick, w3.org/tr/SCXML, that banner real quick. This is going to be where the general algorithm is. And honestly, it does, if you thought that learning state charts was a learning curve, learning the algorithms in here is also a huge learning curve. But if you are really curious, then these are pretty much the same algorithms that we use in XState version 5, for state charts. I've been thinking about like just making some sort of slide deck or a guide on like how XState works internally. So if that's of any interest to many people, then, I'll consider doing it.
That's a great idea. Now, this has been a real bumper 60th office hours. So I guess it makes sense that it was a bumper one with a great new feature. Does anyone else have anything that they wanted to share this week? Or any other questions that you want us to answer, folks?
None for me.
I was thinking about having the first stately hangout or fireside probably on Monday evening, Helsinki time. So if you're interested, just let us know on Discord so we make this happen next Monday.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate you coming and joining in live and asking questions and leaving your nice comments. If you have anything that you want us to share in office hours in the future, just give us a shout on any of the social places that we are. We're on Mastodon now. I hadn't even said that yet. You can now also find us on Mastodon. We are at social.stately.ai or stately at social.stately.ai if you want to find the full handle. Don't worry, once you're following us, you just have to type at stately. It's all easy. So please do join us there. And please ask us any questions that you want us to answer in office hours, or you can join us on our Discord at discord.gg/xstate. There we go. And there we have a help forum if you have any specific questions you need help with, or if you just want to be cool and discuss the studio and XState, there are plenty of channels for you to do that there as well. And thank you very much for joining us. And we will see you all probably in a couple of weeks' time. We'll make sure that we post on those social platforms ahead of time when we are going to stream. And you can always follow us on YouTube. If you subscribe, you'll be notified when we're going to do a live stream. Or you can just, when we've got a live stream coming up soon, hit the little notify me button, and that will give you a reminder of when the stream is about to come up. So we'll catch you all later. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.